You're listening to an extract of the Leader podcast. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. You still wouldn't call it busy, but the South Bank's definitely been more lively than it has been for some time. The hottest day of the year so far has fallen just 24 hours after lockdown restrictions were eased, and London has been making the most of it. The good mood's been buoyed a little by news that a fourth COVID-19 vaccine could be released in the UK before the end of April. The exclusive was broken in the Evening Standard by our reporting team, including our Deputy Political Editor, Nicholas Cecil, who's with me now. Nicholas, what do we know about this new vaccine?
This is the Novovax vaccine, which is being produced in the northeast of England. The Evening Standard this morning spoke to Professor Paul Heath, who is a chief investigator for this Novovax jab trial in the UK. And he's saying that the regulator now has most of the information it probably needs to make a decision on whether to give this vaccine an approval. The regulator, which is called the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, it's been using a rolling review process to fast-track vaccines in the UK. And Professor Heath, he was saying, obviously they will do a very detailed and thorough job in checking this vaccine is safe and works properly. But he's optimistic, and he said, I'd hope it would be in the spring or possibly even the end of April that it is given approval.
How effective is it against coronavirus, though, Nicholas, particularly against things like the Kent mutation, which has been causing so many problems recently?
Yes, this vaccine, according to the Novovax trials, is 86% effective against the Kent variant and 96% effective against the original strain, which arrived after the outbreak in Wuhan in China. It certainly appears very much to be a very effective vaccine. This obviously has to be checked by the regulator. The government have ordered 60 million doses of this vaccine, and together with supplies of other vaccines, I think after a slight slowdown in the vaccination programme, that there's hope that actually in the weeks and months ahead it could actually even speed up again.
And Barnard Castle has a surprising connection to this one, doesn't it?
Yes, no, you just can't get away from Barnard Castle. It's in the news all the time. First it's Dominic Cummings, and now it turns out that GlaxoSmithKline have got a facility at Barnard Castle, which is near Durham. And what they could do there, they're going to do what is called fill and finish, which is the completion stage of vaccine manufacturing, where vials are prepared and filled with this vaccine and then packaged and prepared for distribution.
So where are we right now in terms of the number of cases that we have here in London at the moment? Is the virus going up? Is it going down? Where are we just now?
Well, at the moment, it's quite hard to look at the cases and come to a very, very clear judgment. The reason for this is that there's been a big increase in mass testing for the return of schools, and also that these rapid flow devices are also increasingly being used in workplaces to reopen offices and other workplaces. So there's been a big increase in testing. In London at the moment, the latest figures show that cases were still falling in 17 out of 32 borough areas, so just over half. There's big variation here between boroughs. For example, in Bexley, cases have doubled in a week, although from a low base. Other places like Barking and Dagenham, they're up 75%, Kensington, Chelsea, 50%. But then you look at Kingston, Newham, Croydon and Havering, they've all seen cases fall by at least a quarter. Now, what's really important with how this disease spreads is what proportion of the older population catch the virus, because they are far more vulnerable to the disease and far more likely to end in hospital and also very sadly to die. And what these figures also show us is that now that the 7-day rate for Londoners who are aged 60 and over, so this is the vulnerable group, but also the group the vast majority have now been vaccinated, well, the rate for this age group is now down to 16 confirmed new infections per 100,000 Londoners a week. So that's 16 compared to the young age group, i.e. people below age 59 and below, there the rate is 41.4, so a lot higher.
What's interesting about this, of course, is that the schools and colleges have gone back, and some people had been concerned about another sudden spike in infections following that. That doesn't appear to have happened, at least for the moment.
It doesn't seem to be. It's still early days. All this data needs to be treated with caution, but it doesn't seem like there's certainly a spike or anything like that happening yet. And it's hard to differentiate between what is actually the disease possibly spreading, an increase in cases, or just more testing, finding cases that were already there anyhow.
And lockdown is easing, and it is the hottest day of the year so far. Lots of people have been out in London, seeing their friends, seeing their family for the first time in months. Something to be encouraged, but I think that the government and others are advising people to remain cautious because this virus is still out there.
Yes, this is certainly the message from the government and health experts as well. They're very keen to get across to people that, yes, go out and enjoy yourself. Now you're allowed to meet in groups of 6 outside or in groups of 2 households outside. But they are stressing it's very much outside. Please don't go inside. And certainly there was one communicable disease expert, Dr. Bharat Pankania. He was speaking this morning. He's a senior clinical lecturer at Exeter University. And he was saying that the danger is you have one drink, then a few too many, and then you, in his words, you drop your guard, you go indoors, and that is where the danger is. That is where the risk is. That is where there's poor ventilation, and it's far, far more likely that you're going to catch the virus. So he's stressing that caution and care is needed.